sir.
All right. Well, it's good to be back. Unlike the last one, it's a bit of a change of scenery. Well, we were lucky enough to be able to do this in person last time, so it's not exactly the way I'd prefer to do this, but we're here, and I still get to talk about annoying nerd stuff that I doubt anyone will care about. But that's what I'm here for. Yeah, it was a while ago. That was in between our first two lockdowns last year, right? Yeah. And now I'm in a different house, and I thought I would try and show off my cool new computer. Even though I'm using my laptop webcam, which isn't amazing and it's a bit blurry and everything anyway. So that was kind of a waste. But yep. Yeah, so this lockdown's really hit a lot differently than the other one. It's like, it was funny actually. I remember talking to my flatmates and other people earlier this year about, like, you know, if when we go into like lockdown for like a couple weeks, sometimes it's nice, you know, you need a bit of a break, and I can work from home. So it's like I can still do work and get paid for it, but like be able to just do like chores and have a little 20-minute nap if I need to have it. But then it's been like 2 months or whatever the hell it's up. I've lost track of time. It's really, really balls things up in that regard. But I don't know. It is, because I was sort of really, really coasting, like really cruising that first sort of month or so, because I was like, oh, you know, it'll be like maybe a month. And I was like, you know, I was doing my work. I was like pottering about with like some writing, other bits and pieces. And then it just kept going. And it's the sort of thing where I had all these things planned. Like, it was my dad's 50th this year, and it was my nan's 70th. And I had planned to go back home for both of those. And they ended up not being able to happen. And then now even we were like, oh, well, we'll credit those flights and we'll like go down like next month just for a holiday to like see people. And I can't even do that. I got an email like this morning that's like, oh, I'll let you know your flights 2 weeks from now have been like cancelled because of COVID. And I was like, oh, I was kind of holding off to the last possible moment just in case I could go somewhere. But it's yeah, so it's been a lot tougher than the others, and I think the last sort of maybe fortnight I've been sort of been hit a lot more with the kind of lockdown blues, I suppose, if you want to call it that. Yeah, I just miss, like, because even we're allowed to like see I won't get political or anything, but this whole like weird picnic scenario thing we've got on now is like great, because now I can see the missus, but it's just awkward, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to like socialize and catch up with people, but I just kind of don't. It's just too weird a situation to do that. I'm like, oh, I'll go like catch up outside in my friend's backyard for like whatever. There's only so much of that you could do, so I've kind of just. It's thankfully I've been able to keep busy to sort of distract myself, which has been nice. So I've been able to do a few bits and pieces. One thing I do like about working from home is that when I'm like exporting a video or doing whatever for work, I can sort of potter about with like some writing or whatever. I've been trying to do a bit more of that over this lockdown. I've always got like videos for my channel and that in the works. So I've been trying to sort of format when I'm kind of releasing all of these, because I get a bit ambitious with some of my videos, and because I work full time, it's like, oh, cool, there's like this movie coming out and I've got this thing I want to talk about, and it's going to be like it's probably going to be like 25 minutes long, and I'll like write it, record it, do whatever fancy stuff for it, and then it gets like a week out from that thing when I want to have it done, and I'm like, yeah, it's not happening. So I've been trying to rein it in a little bit with keeping things like short and concise. So I just recently put out because Dune is out now, I put out a little like edit thing, like a trailer edit for that, but Lord of the Rings, and that was quite fun. I haven't done one of these little trailer edits for a while. I was hoping to do something a bit more substantial on Dune, but as some people will know, I can't go watch it to the movies, and it's been a whole thing, right? Because I could just like pirate it, but it's the sort of movie I really wanted to go see in cinemas, and if possible IMAX, and it's what I can't. And then the only place digitally you can watch it is HBO Max, which is a US based one, which we don't have access to. I have a VPN, so I'm like, oh, maybe I can make an account, but you need, the payment method has to be like a US issued like credit card or whatever. I was like so excited to try and watch it like the weekend just gone, and I never did. So I've kind of been a bit sad about that lately, but yeah. yeah. Otherwise, there's been like lots of other things. I've been like, been doing some writing that's separate from the channel, just my own sort of personal stuff. Still carrying on with my my Bionicle collecting. So that's going strong. I've been doing a bit of underground like Bionicle dealing on the side, like selling some stuff. Just sent out a parcel today, actually. Just dropped it off down to Christchurch. So I'm a very nationally I was going to say nationally renowned. So after lockdown, I mean, it's weird because I really want to travel, and that's an annoying thing, because even when we're like, well, I can't say COVID's going to be like gone forever, but when we get to a point we can be out and about a lot more, I don't even think I'll want to do that, at least for a while, right? Because I remember when we were at uni, there was a sort of initial conversation, or even before that, where I'm like, oh, I could do a gap year before uni and like go travel or work just to make some more money or whatever. And then my other thought was that maybe I'd do that the year after. But then I decided I'd work for a bit first to make like some money so I can actually feasibly do that. And like, I'd love to go back to Europe and stuff, but it's just sort of working out exactly how that's going to work, and whether I'm in the right state of mind to be doing that. But it would be something I'd like to do, even if it's just traveling more of New Zealand, honestly. If that's what I have to do, if that's all I get to do in the meantime, I'd be more than happy to do that. I would obviously just being able to go and hang out with people again would be nice. Yeah. Well, why would you? Sex? Come on. No way. I'm a clean boy. I mean, but it's just stuff like I was saying before, like missing birthdays and like sort of big substantial events. And now I'm not even 100% sure if I'll be able to go back home for Christmas. So I hope to be able to just see everyone again, which is nice. Not something I thought I'd have to say, because I thought if it was like a month, this lockdown, I'd be able to deal with it. But it hasn't been. So it's those 5 days where you just see people all the time, the casual wandering around like, hey, do you want to go grab a beer or whatever? I know they're gone now. We're not getting close to that. I'd like to try, like, there's no specific thing, or yeah, it's this lockdown's made us all old. This lockdown specifically, I feel like I'm like 5 years older. Yeah, well, you know, I have been lucky to still work, so I haven't been as like sort of blank and empty as a lot of other people have without having anything to do. But I don't have any specific plans for like content, but I would like to try and like maybe do some more stuff in that regard, whether it's more of my own work I can try and get into my current like work at Māori TV. I know there's been a few ideas I've been sitting on that I'm not sure whether it's something I can realistically tackle on my own. So I wonder if there's a few things I'm hoping to maybe rework for there. And even just stuff like this, right? Like obviously this is cool, but like with our like old and yeah, just doing some more collaborative things with people. There's a particular video that I have been working on for probably a good half a year. I've been chipping away at it. It's a big project. It's going to be my biggest video yet, and it's the sort of one I've decided I want to like. It's like a video essay sort of thing, right? Except it's because I know it's going to be quite long. I want to like film it, like make a whole thing of it, right? But I need some equipment that I can hopefully loan from work and some other people to help me do that. But yeah, I'd like to be able to do more stuff. Like this kind of thing though. But more, yeah. I mean, to get the thing right is that like these sort of like podcast stuff is like great, but I'm a big fan. I don't listen to like a huge amount of podcasts, but I love ones that are just like there's a few people. You know, there's a time and a space for like a 2 to 3 sort of more like I would say formal, but more structured and it's easy to understand what's going on. But there's something about a like fun, chaotic one. I know there's a bit of an art to that because people need to be able to understand what everyone's saying, which I know when all of us are together isn't. Question now, right? Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So. There's a lovely question by a person known as Slenard, and I don't know exactly what he means by deep cut. So if I'm an idiot, that's on me. Give us a deep cut from your favorite musician. Music's not something I tend to talk about a hell of a lot. Well, in regards to like my presence online and stuff, right? I'm sure like people like know I'm into like music. I'm particularly into listening to scores from movies and shows to the point where most of my like reviews and when I talk about movies, that's always something I tend to bring up. And I'm like, oh, I watched and you know, I saw this guy was composing and I was like, oh, this score's gonna be great. And I went and listened to it and they're like, how do you remember like the music sort of like background? I'm like, yeah, sometimes in a film like music is very like it's intentionally more of an ambient or backdrop for everything else. But sometimes you get these really grand scores. I like all of it, but I'm a real big sucker for just kind of big epic. And I don't want to be normie and say like Hans Zimmer, but it's that kind of stuff, right? Where I can lie there and just listen to this piece of music that sort of Ludwig, who did was it Black Panther and Mandalorian and God forbid he also scored Tenet. One of the redeeming qualities of that movie is I did enjoy his score for Tenet. We'll save a TED conversation for another. Yeah, but it's I just thought I'd use this question as an opportunity to talk about this like my sort of realm of music and listening to it, because there's that, and then there's also the EDM space, which I'm very much into, which are two like complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but they're also kind of not sometimes. Because I'm a big fan of like synthwave, the sort of like 80s like retro stuff, but then also the more like moody ambient like dark synth that is less structured and more like if you were to take the cool scores that I listen to but sort of do it digitally and add a bit of a bass drop and stuff to it, so it's got some sort of, like more of a overt like rhythm to it. Big fan of that. Maybe I can link a playlist or something if people are interested in that sort of music, if anyone would like to do that. The serious DJ, right? Nothing wrong with being mainstream though. Like, I know I'm the sort of person who tends to regularly like dunk on mainstream media, whether that's like film, music, games, whatever it is. But they're mainstream for a reason, as they cover all the bases, and I know a good majority of my friends like listen to that sort of classic like current like pop, hip hop, R&B, which I'm also into. Like, take me out to a club or something, and you've got some. I love that like old school like R&B. I say old school, like early 2000s. Weird to think of that as like old school, but for us it is. But yeah, I don't know. I there's always that sort of I listen to every music. There's no like specific genre I listen to, but like you have a look at my liked songs list on Spotify, and you'll be like, oh my god, all right, he wasn't joking. my like Spotify year in review is always really interesting, because I'll have like top artist like Hans Zimmer, and then the second artist is like, for lack of a better example, someone like Skrillex, right? Is that not that I listen to much of him at the moment, but like that kind of artist, and it's quite funny to look at, honestly. And then like you'll go down and there'll be like one of my most listened to songs was like a Lonely Island song. New artist? Oh yes, actually, yeah. Well, see, on the topic of the Sleanad, if you're listening, thank you for asking this very profound question, and I hope I didn't answer it in any way that I was supposed to. But I think on that note, yeah, there is this quirky underground artists that we've both discovered that we're both into. I think William here is into it like way more than me. I'd say I'm still trying to get into it, but yeah. I wonder if that question was a bit of a loaded question, right? So I won't even mention his name. I won't give him the publicity. No, go listen to Dozie's shit. It's weird, right? Because like I've got like a few, well, some more like distant friends. So I'm like, oh, I got friends who make music, and like there's some who are way more friends than others. But it's really funny having people who make music, and you're just like listening to like sometimes I think that, and I'll be like lying on my bed like reading or whatever, and I'm playing my music in the background, and then say a Dozy song drops, and I'm just like, oh yeah. And I hope people feel the same way about when they see a video. So in doing like video essays and stuff, which, you know, arguably is the primary piece of content that I do. There are like other bits and pieces, but we'll focus on that for the time being. It's an interesting process, and I've mentioned this to people before, but for someone who, you know, at uni and stuff, you edit more traditional like video format, like like block out what a scene's going to be, shoot it, edit it, da da da. Doing like a video essay is almost like a complete backwards way, because you have your script, like the script and research is like the bulk of, I mean, pre-production is the biggest part of any sort of video thing you're making. But like the script and all the research and collating of like music and recording narration and stuff. But the actual edit itself is like, it's an audio focused thing, right? Like, you know, obviously video essays are called video essays because the video is there to, as well as the like narration and stuff, but the video is there as like an accompaniment. And I know some content creators blur that line a bit more and try and make theirs more sort of like cinematic and try and do cool, quirky things with that, which is something at some point I'd like to get into, given the like resources and everything else I have access to. But it's like stitching together all of the narration and then the music and then doing the video and images and stuff last, rather than doing it like sort of concurrently. The only time I sort of bounce back to doing videos is when there's like a bit or a joke or a meme or something I want to put in that fits well, because a lot of my process while editing is to lay out the narration and music and then just listen to it to sort of like hear out the beats and when I need more pauses and all of that. And then once I've done that, I'll like layer on the videos and the images and stuff to support it. When it comes to the like trailers and stuff that I do, those are definitely the most fun I have editing for all the content. And I'd like to do a few more of them, because I think I only done one, maybe two this year. But those are always fun because it's like a little challenge, right? Because I'll watch a cool trailer. For example, the Dune one, I was like, this is a real cool trailer. I want to try and replicate this, but to another film or show that I like. So, for example, the Dune one, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I was like, you know, I love Lord of the Rings. It's the same sort of grand, epic, like fantasy film, except, you know, fantasy, not like sci-fi. And then that's always fun because you lay out, well, what I do is I lay out the project, the trailer in the project, and then try and like match up structurally. Like it's been an interesting breakdown of trailers for me, because I feel like I've had a new understanding of how a trailer is put together by doing these, because I really have to segment all of these different parts of a trailer. And I've always been a huge fan of trailers. So who knows, maybe that's something I get into in the future. Yeah, it's sort of hard. Like, I know because yours probably like a lot more so than mine. You have a lot of actual like video content that you do, right? As opposed to mine, which is more oral first, right, and then video. Hey, well, yeah, it's. I imagine it's even harder for someone like you, who obviously can't actively go out and make that stuff that you're doing, and trying to rework what you do in an isolated situation. As yeah, it's, and I think even with the last lockdowns, right? Like, I thought I had it figured out, and I'm lucky enough that the type of content I want to do most of the time is stuff I just do in my room, right? Or wherever my computer is. So right here, this is where I make everything. I like write it, I record it, I edit it, I do everything, like just sitting in this annoyingly broken chair. but I mean, there are other more ambitious stuff, like I said, I'd like to do, say like with you or with anyone else, or even just like myself. That is definitely going to be a whole process we need to work out now. Because I know with work, right, we're going through that at the moment, like being like, oh, okay, so we definitely can't make anything, like hope that we'll get into a lockdown stage where we are a lot more like free of restrictions and regulations and that. So we just need to figure out how to make these sorts of things in our current situation, which is something that's constantly changing. Well, there's always things I'd like to improve on, and sometimes I'll release a video and I know it could be better. Like my goal going into a project is always so much like grander than the final product, and that's not to say I'm ever like disappointed with how something turned out. It does sort of happen, but it's the kind of thing where, because initially when I started off doing all this stuff, right, and not like I've blown up or anything, but a big thing for me is just to keep doing stuff. And I always had a problem when I was younger of starting things and never finishing things, and then nitpicking as well would be a big problem, because that would really turn me off being interested in a project. So a lot of the time for like starting out, and I've tried to maintain that, is like I have an idea, never like completely discredit an idea. Like there's a lot of stuff I thought about when I like started doing this back in 2019 or whenever it was. God, well, I say that like it was so long ago. Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, I've told myself to, like, as long as I can maintain, like I've got an idea, to hold on to it and to like push it through the system in a lot of video essays, because a lot of things where I talk about movies and stuff that are like relevant, right? And a lot of the time that means there's kind of a window where that thing needs to come out. But that also doesn't mean if it passes that point that I shouldn't do it anymore, because I know there are still times where it's like, I'm sure, like, I still see that no one's discussed this thing that I want to talk about in regards to whatever this is. So I'm sure that means people will be interested in that thing, or at least I hope so. But in regards to that sort of overall production process, as long as I can keep making things, I'm still, working on that, like creative output. And because it's just like a personal project, it's no like I'm not getting paid for this, it's not like whatever, it's for me. Like I say, like I the big part of it is I want to be able to share these sorts of opinions and everything else that I have in my like creativity and that with other people, but it's also to help me get better at it. And there's a lot of things in earlier ones and even now that I have trouble with. And I know one of the big things is like it's like sometimes as equipment, like I know I need to get like a better mic for my recording, which is probably the first thing I need to do, because that's like my main point of like my main thing I use there that's unique is what I have to say. I've now got a computer, so like a proper PC setup, as opposed to the laptop that I'm video chatting you on now, which makes editing like so much smoother. And I'm able to sort of just organize all of my stuff a bit more. It's really just a lot more refinement, right? Because I wouldn't say it was bad, but I can be a bit sloppy sometimes. But I also know that I do work. I don't always have the time to be able to do this, but I do enjoy doing it. And at this stage, I'm very content with where I'm at. I just hope that I'm like, over the next few years, if I still do this, I'm able to like continually like dial up or fine tune all of those skills, such as my like audio mixing and stuff. I know is a big thing. Like it's a point that like you need to spend a lot of time on that kind of thing. And sometimes when I get to the point where like an edit's done, I'm like, sweet. And then I like export it and I'm like, this doesn't sound as amazing as it could be. And maybe like I've recorded something and my mic. It's always interesting when that happens, right? When you get called out in front of everyone. Well, it's not calling out because obviously it's like a safe environment where we're all learning to like be better at a thing. But but sometimes it's just a bit. It's a lot. Yeah, that wasn't. Sorry, that wasn't a. I don't think there was a specific 3 things there, but oh no, anything to improve on, like specifically, but yeah. Now, obviously, I'm also in the boat of being a young and inspiring YouTuber, where I'm still trying to build this like identity myself, I suppose. But if I could offer like 3 pieces of advice that have helped me about jumping off of what I've sort of just been talking about, it's about just like putting stuff out there. Like I know people have said this about me, right? Where it's like everyone has like ideas and that, but like if you actually like do something about it, you're one of the few people who actually took that extra step to do the thing. And sometimes you make something and it's like, whatever. But, you know, we're starting and it's only going to get better. All the YouTubers we all watch, if we go back and watch their first videos, some of them aren't great. And it's always got, I get a bit more of a respect for them going back and looking at that. It makes them seem a lot more relatable because while some of them have, like, we all have different, like varying levels of expertise on this kind of thing, but because it's online and social media, things are changing all the time. So it's, you know, if you can, yeah. So tip one is just to make the thing you want to do, whether it's like music, doing video essays, doing vlogs and stuff like you do, or podcasts, or anything really. And because this applies to more than just the like content creation space, right? It's like just actually, and which is the hardest bit to do, is actually just doing it. And I should have saved this for the 3rd tip, but like it's that's once you get started. And I think. And you saying that, I think that will be my 2nd tip then, is about like criticism, right? It is about taking, like receiving and giving criticism. Is you need, there's a few switches in your brain you really need to fiddle around with where you don't get like offended by things. Or like, because you know, a lot of the time people point out things and you're like, oh, like you'll see a comment and you're like, there was actually something I laughed about the other day where someone commented on a video I'd done from one of my first sort of video essays I'd done, and was like, the audio is shit. And I was like, okay, well, one, this is like 2 years ago, so I like to think I've improved a bit from them. But also, he was right. Like, I had a lot more issues with my like audio balancing than I do now. Not that it doesn't crop up from time to time, but it's that kind of thing. And not just about your own stuff, but about things you like. Like, I know it's something I try to put into the videos I make about criticism. And like before we started recording this, we were talking about like Marvel stuff, right? And I'm a big advocate for being able to acknowledge something you like isn't like technically as good as it probably could be, but also that's no reason to not like something. Like if you like really enjoy something, like say there's a movie out there that everyone bashes on, but you absolutely love it, like that's amazing. Like, you know, love that movie, and don't let anyone make you not love that movie. But I feel like there's a certain line there where those people are like, you can't hate on this. That's, you are ruining things by like hating on things. But I'm like, if you're also only being positive about something to the point, because there's such thing as like toxic positivity, which is what I talk about with those big like fan groups for stuff like Marvel films or God forbid Harry Potter. Where you have opinions, because sometimes people can be aggressive. There's some fine tuning that needs to be done in all of the realms of criticism. But as the second point, just be accepting of criticism, and also it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to navigate, but making sure you do and don't like shut out opinions, but also don't let criticisms, even if they're like arguably correct ones, don't let it turn you off from doing something if you do enjoy doing it. Because that's the thing with criticism, right? And what you're saying, the question here is about like inspiring like young content creators and stuff who want to do stuff. If you really want to do it, these things that people are saying will help you get better at this, even if it's just like filtering out negative things that people say. So when you post a video, are you just kind of done with it then? Yeah. Because I'm definitely like that with some as well, but I feel like there's always that. I'm like this with anything I make, right? Is it's about like showing people, and it's sort of the like, well, not secondhand embarrassment. It's just like straight up embarrassment when you're like, oh, hey, I did this thing, and they're like, oh, cool, show me, and you're like, no, watch it in your own time. Like, I don't want to be here when you watch this. And especially for stuff that like you and I do, where like you're in it, like you are the thing that you're doing, right? And it's one thing to show someone like a short film you made at high school that has like 3 of your friends in it, and you were just like a camera operator. It's another one to do the same thing, but you're the one that's actively interacting with the people, and it's unless you're that really confident person, it's that's definitely a hurdle for some people. So to make content, like just do it. Like criticism, navigating criticism, and maybe accepting of criticism, but also understanding like kind of just inherently what criticism is. And a third one, I think is yeah, I think a good third one is just sort of being, because like there's a reason you want to make the things that you're making, right? And just let yourself kind of like go nuts, right? As it's like you have these weird wacky ideas. Some things you'll make and be like, whoa, what if this? And then you do that and it's the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. Like, that's fine. That's the sort of thing with like, what's that saying? Like the throwing the spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks or whatever. It's I very much have that kind of mindset. Some stuff isn't going to work, but you're never going to know if something works if you never like give things a go in the first place. And for like, if you're wanting to be like a creator, like more personality wise, right? Whereas like you are sort of front and center of what you do, and I'm like the voice of my channel. It's about like figuring out why you want to do that and making sure you sort of stick to that, and just like let people see who you are, because everyone can tell when you're not really being super true to yourself. So if in an age now where everyone is trying to do stuff like this, like my cousin who's half my age is like doing this sort of stuff in some regards better than I am, and it's like it's awesome to see people do stuff like that where it's like such a hard market to get into, and you might, some of the ways you tried, you might just not get there, and that's fine, but you there you will like if you have all of these ideas that you want to create. There'll be something there that people will pick up on. Maybe it's something you never expected, but you'll never know unless you give it a go. Which I guess links that back to my first point. Is sort of a cycle there. Yeah. So going back to these lists of questions we've had by all these lovely, and I think there's a question here that's asking about what I'm going to first watch in cinemas when I'm able to do that again, by a lovely Hunting for Rose. Thank you very much. There were a few there I wanted to answer, but I think because this is essentially the same conversation I had before about Dune, right? It's just there's something I love so much about going to the cinemas, right? Is whether it's like a huge theater, like opening night for a movie I'm really excited to see, or going to a smaller cinema because they're replaying like an old movie I really liked and haven't seen for a long time. Yeah, I mean, IMAX, yeah, you know, to straight up answer the question as bluntly as I can, I would like to go see Dune as soon as I can in IMAX, but depending on how long this lockdown is, I feel like that window might pass and it might not be possible. Otherwise, I also really want to go see Edgar Wright's new film, The Last Night in Soho. So that's the answer to that question. But the cinema is just such a cool. Is that out at the moment, Eternals, or is that it is? Okay. Because the last Marvel film I saw was Black Widow because I could watch it on Disney Plus. And the only reason I watched it was because my parents, I got a text from my parents and they were like, hey, so we just like watching Disney Plus and we saw there's this new Marvel film. So they paid the like $10, $15, however much it was, for the like exclusive access to watch it. And I'm like, I guess I'll watch it so you didn't waste your money on like one time watching this movie. It was very average. And I've gone into it a bit more in depth in a previous video I did, which is essentially talking about like Marvel fatigue, right? So I feel it's been a weird journey. Maybe a whole separate video. It's just my personal journey throughout the MCU, because I'm at a point in my relationship with this franchise now where it's almost like I've just broken up with them and I want to have absolutely nothing to do with them, but I keep seeing them everywhere and it makes me so mad because I can't avoid it. But it's also the case where I know, like, because you got Eternals and then you had was it Shang-Chi that just came out, and I'm sure those will be fun. I think the Shang-Chi especially I was quite thought could be quite fun to go and watch, but I haven't even looked into any of that, and I feel a strange comfort knowing that I'm not strung around on like a leash to watch every one of these movies, which I was at some point. And that's not to discredit any of these films as as films. I think if anything, it's more the fan base of these films that I've just escaped from. And now I can look back at it. Part of me is a bit like, no offense to everyone, but a bit disgusting. Hey, Batman though. Amen. Yeah, well, that's my little spiel. I think there's some more points here you've got about films and that, so I'll leave the rest of this conversation for them. But I love going to the cinema. It's a great pastime. I love doing it on my own. Don't be afraid to go to a movie on your own. If one, nobody wants to see it. Two, you want to like do, because I think a big part, like a lot of the time we like to do stuff on our own, right? And I find going to a cinema is a great, like, hobby, but like as a great way to enjoy that, because going to a movie is very much a quiet thing, right? You sit down in a chair, you've got your food. It's fun. There's sort of two different movie watching experiences, right? There's the group of all your friends, and you laugh at things that aren't even supposed to be funny. There's like weird inside jokes, like whatever. Don't be too disruptive though, because I think I appreciate movies too much. She's like throwing popcorn or whatever. But then you've got, I very much enjoy being able to like just sit in a cinema and just get like absorbed by a movie. I went and watched Blade Runner 2049 by myself, and it was amazing. And same with like a movie, I'm trying to think of like recently, it had not been a few years old now, like that. And then I went and saw Mission Impossible Fallout, and then there were like a few others that I went and watched on my own. And it's great. And then you sort of like, you don't, if you're the sort of person who doesn't necessarily always need like you don't want a social interaction, but you want to go out and do something. Some people like go for walks. I do as well. But like, there's just something really, really like soothing and relaxing for me personally, going to watch like a movie on my own. It's kind of like revitalizing it in a way. For lack of a better word. I don't want to get all spiritual with it. I'm not that kind of person, but that's what it is. Right. Okay. So I guess because I'll start. I haven't been watching a hell of a lot of new stuff recently. I've just been sort of, well, it's not even been a lot of work. I've kind of just been watching like YouTube and whatever. But okay, we'll start with new things I've seen. Midnight Mass is excellent, and you should go and watch it. It's the sort of thing that you are better served like not like knowing as little as possible. It's really slow burn though, so I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. Like people who watch like a movie like Blade Runner 2049 or even the first Blade Runner, they're they're slow movies, more thought-provoking than like Michael Bay action Marvel film. But because of that, I feel like there's just a great like appreciation for the craft of filmmaking that goes into something like that. And it's really cool. And for someone who's not like a horror fan, I'm a little wuss, but like it was great. I was very invested in everything that was happening. So that was good. Other shows. The final season of The Expanse comes out in December. That has definitely been my favorite like current show that I've been watching. So its final season comes out in December. It's all on Amazon Prime, so you'll need to get an Amazon Prime subscription or just like watch it somewhere else. But it's solid. Some of the best sci-fi I think I've ever seen. And it's kind of like it's grounded in terms of its themes and its like actual sci-fi elements. But I know something the author and / writer for the show, they have like a podcast and that talked about where one of their rules when writing the books, because it was also a series of books that I haven't yet read. I've got the first one, but that they wanted to keep it grounded where things seemed realistic, but they never wanted that to get in the way of just things being cool. So there are leniencies for like other things that happen, but it's sort of like, I remember I initially got it pitched to me as like Game of Thrones in space, right, which I'd heard. One thing I'll say about the show is it's way more consistent than Game of Thrones, so it has its sort of like ups and downs, but it never has the lows that Game of Thrones had. What else was I going to say? I think this is, I think I made a little list somewhere. Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol, I've yet to watch the third season, which has just come out like a month ago. for those that don't know, based on like an obscure DC property, kind of like what Guardians of the Galaxy were before they made a movie about them. Excellent. It leans into the inherent weirdness of comic books and superheroes more than anything I've seen, and in a way less cringy way than Deadpool. But like, so essentially, it's the premise is, well, in terms of what the characters are, it's kind of similar to something like Umbrella Academy, right? Where you've got this house that has a bunch of like dysfunctional, super powered people that are all very traumatized by the events that made them who they are. And as they unpackage their own like grief and stuff, each episode they go on like a weird, wacky adventure. Like one episode might be they all go inside someone's head to like help solve why they're feeling sad. And then another episode, one of my favorite ones of the first season, they meet a sentient street. His name's Danny the Street. He's a street who can teleport, and he houses like people who are like running away from society or people who like don't fit in. And it's like a really heartwarming episode, and I never thought I'd get attached to a sentient like town, and he only speaks through like text he can pop up on like digital thing. It's like the show, like when there's something weird, you know how a lot of Marvel films try to tame it down to make it seem more realistic. The show goes the other end and it's like, this thing is really weird and stupid, we're going to put it in the show as weird and stupid, and it's going to be wonderful because the show always remembers to focus on the characters, right? And I think that's what lets you sort of not really worry about the like logistics of how any of this works, because we just know this is a weird world, weird stuff happens, things don't really make any sense, but we connect grounded to the story through these characters who go through grounded and real things, even if they can be loopy themselves. So that's really good. I cannot remember where you watched that. I think I'll need to, you'll find it. But that's also really good. There was something else. Give me 2 seconds, and then we can just, you can just cut this out, whatever. Where is it? Right. I talked about Dune a bit. I haven't seen the movie, but I would say go and watch it, because I imagine it's a property, while one of the like most renowned sci-fi stories ever written, a lot of people, especially sort of our generation, people I know anyway, aren't super familiar with it. So I would definitely go and watch it or read the book. I just read the book properly at the beginning of this year, and it's great. It's excellent. It's not very actiony, I'll say that. It's I wouldn't even say it's not post-apocalyptic-y. It's sci-fi, but the sci-fi is kind of the backdrop, right? It's sort of a more intimate, like thematic, personal story about hero worship and the bad things about it. I know the book, the film isn't the whole first book. I think he's splitting it in two, because they just recently announced they are making a part 2. So bear that in mind. But I think the story is something that everyone should like. Honestly, I would more recommend the book. Like, I was like, go read the book, but also if you're not the sort of reading type, go watch the movie. I won't say much more about it. If you like sci-fi or just big, grand, like scale, epic type movies, like just go watch it. There's not a hell of a lot else I've been watching. Recently, I started watching the early 2000s Battlestar Galactica. It's really good. I'd seen the old like 80s show because my dad was really into it, and it was like as campy as that sort of era stuff can be. I enjoyed it. Like, this was back when I was younger, and I heard this more recent adaptation, it's more of a sequel series actually, was like good, and I started watching it. I haven't finished it. I've only watched the first 2 seasons, but it's bloody good. in terms of, I have been playing a few games though. That's something I've been doing a lot of. I have a lot of my days are filled with meetings for work, and while I have my cam off, I'm just playing a game on my PC while I have the meeting up on my laptop. I've been playing. I mean, this sort of speaks to the types of games that I personally play. I've been playing a lot of Frostpunk because it was on sale, and now there's a second one coming out. Really great. There's not a hell of a lot of content there unless you have the DLC, but because the game's fairly old, you can get it like reasonably priced where it's well worth the price that it retails for now. It's it's like a management sim where you sort of create your little society, build, like get resources and all that sort of stuff. But one of the things this game tries to do that elevates it is the sort of like moral dilemma of this is the end of the world and you are governing this last bastion of humanity. You have to make some pretty cruel decisions sometimes, but a lot of the time it doesn't present you with a good one and a bad one. Like some games, do you want to be a good guy? Do you want to be a bad guy? It's like, here's two effed up options. Pick the one that you want. And this one will piss this group of people off. This one will piss this group of people off. So you just kind of have to go with your gut. And it's quite like grueling, and it gets quite riveting when like you make decisions that end up working out in your favor, and making sure, because you have to manage your society's level of hope, and the lower that gets, the more like distrustful of you they become, and the more screw ups you make, the less like lenient they are on you for them. And there's that sort of thing. If you like games like, you know, like Age of Empires or like that type of thing, except less combat and like more sort of serious moral ethical tones that make you sort of more grip, like that's great. That's a good game. I recommend that to people who like that kind of game. It's not for everyone though. I know a lot of people are just big into shooting things, and that's fine as well. But you're not out yet, but as you might have noticed, got a Halo Infinite wallpaper up behind me. Very excited. I played the latest technical preview. It's excellent. I'm interested to see what the campaign's going to be like, but multiplayer has sold me. Halo 5 gets a bad rap. I like to hate on Halo 5, especially the campaign. Its multiplayer was solid. I just never played enough of it because I was angry at them for the campaign. But this game looks great. But as always, I am also now a big advocate for people not pre-ordering things. So stop pre-ordering video games. Yeah. Unless I'm the sort of person where it's like Halo, I'm like, I'll play it no matter what. But especially like stuff like Cyberpunk, where I was like, wait for it to come out. Don't give them all your money before you know if the thing's going to be good. That's my little recommendation. I suppose as well as music, if people are interested in that, hit me up and I'll yeah. Yeah. Now, someone asked why I like movie popcorn. I have a weird relationship with popcorn. This is going to be more of a complex answer than you think. I'm not a huge fan of popcorn. Like, I know my sister like would sit down, you know, like a Friday night and like rent a movie or whatever. My sister loves like eating popcorn. I've always been more of a chips and dip person, or ice cream as like my preference of food while watching a movie. But when I was younger, I probably got this from my mother because she still is pretty bad with this. But like, I love salt. I'm pretty good now and like not putting extra salt on anything. But when I go to the movies, I know I'm gonna get this like extremely salty, unhealthy bucket of popcorn and eat the whole bloody thing. And I think just how I said the experience of going to like the cinema, right? And there's something about like, I think a bucket or a little bag of popcorn that really adds to that like experience, especially if you've got like some people with you, like, yeah, got a big bucket of popcorn, like some huge oversized drinks, maybe stuck in like a McDonald's cheeseburger or something. It's good stuff.
Um.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, what is the like YouTube video I'm most proud of? Something I am actually quite proud of and has gotten a lot more recognition than I thought. I did a video earlier this year on the Netflix anime Castlevania, and specifically on a character from that show I really liked. And that's like my best performing video. Like, it's done really well, and the engagement, like, people are commenting on it like every other day, and I'm just like, my videos get like buggerel views because this is, it's a channel for me, and like if someone sees like a video that they're like that's what helps like drive me, and my friends and family who watch it as well. But like, the people are really into this video, and it's sort of helped me it's helped me go back to think about like what type of content I did with that video and what I can take from that going forward. People like positivity. I'm not always super positive in my video. That video is a really positive one about a character. So I can't say to people now that I'm always going to be positive, but it's it's something I might consider going forward. But more obscure positivity. I'm not just going to be like this to every new Marvel film that comes out, but it's I will say when I do enjoy something. Oh yeah. Unpopular opinion. Marvel in if the MCU. I can't think of anything for me, but as a kid, I was so tell me, an older brother. Well, I used to tell my sister when I was mad at her that she was adopted. But like, not only that, she was like an alien that was like adopted because no one it was the whole thing. Country, I'd love to go back to Rome. Oh, that's not a country. I'd love to go back to Italy. But honestly, anywhere in Europe, I think would be fun. I'd love to go to like Greece or even England. Honestly, it's I'm a big historical buff, so anything that's got some quite cool historical things would be something I'd like to go on. I mean, everywhere does, but you know. Fave movie line. I love the line from Watchmen where Rorschach's like, "You think I'm locked in here with you? No, you're locked in here with me." It's okay. Favorite Marvel movie is either Winter Soldier, Infinity War, or maybe the first Guardians. I think the second Guardians is really underrated. And I think, yeah, I really like the second one. I wouldn't necessarily say that's my favorite. The worst, Ant-Man and the Wasp was pretty bad. Captain Marvel's pretty bad. As most people say, the Thor: The Dark World's not great. The first, I know you mentioned the Hulk. I kind of like that one. But I think I have a weird respect for that movie because it was before the MCU became very MCU, and it like feels different. And I think that's what I like about that movie. It doesn't feel like an MCU film. Uh, I used to dance. Yeah, I used to be in a hip hop group, and I tell people, especially, it was really funny at high school at the time while I was doing it because I was like tall and lanky and very uncoordinated, and people were like, "How? How was it?" It was like it's like anything. You give me some instructions, I'll follow them pretty well, but it's improv that I like. Don't get me to come up with something off the top of like come up with something off the top of my head. I'm not very good at it. Um, like way in the future, obviously, I'd love to like direct a film or even like write a script for a film. I think in more immediate goals, I'd love to do both of those things, but for like short films and try and make that more of a recurring endeavor. Now that I work in that industry, I've met a couple of people who might be able to help me, like at least get me experience doing that. So that's something I hope to be able to like push into a bit more. Yeah, yeah. Um, I've talked about it a little bit, like throughout this whole thing, because right, you've got three your underrated things essentially. I went on a bit about Doom Patrol. That's definitely, I think, my favorite superhero show that I've ever seen. In that it's like it's not technically like craft wise like the best, but it's just so fun. And it's so enjoyable. Um, so that um, hmm, underrated. Hard because I feel like my issue is I feel like most stuff is overrated. I the cartoon Harley Quinn show is really good. It's if you like wacky R-rated cartoon shows, like say something like Rick and Morty, like this definitely fits in that kind of thing. It's so silly, but also so like genuine, and it has some of the most fun interpretations of Batman villains and just DC villains, where like it explores like Harley Quinn's sort of dynamic with like the Joker and her trying to find herself, her friendship with Poison Ivy, but her whole gang of villains. The King Shark in Harley Quinn is excellent. The best King Shark I've seen. He's such a fun character. That's my second one. I think it's not underrated, but I think people should read. I'm basing it off of like mainstream knowledge, right? Because it's definitely up there. Say something like I was going to say like the Watchmen comic, right? It's one of the most like wasn't it rated in like one of the best pieces of literature like ever created? It's like it's on like those lists, right? But I feel like a lot of people now don't. It's kind of just like this thing, and especially because the Zack Snyder film, while I like unironically do really enjoy that movie. It's the graphic novel that's like where it is. Although, you know, there are opinions I have of Alan Moore and how he, you know, I don't know. You see, it's a great piece of work though, and it's a cool dissection of superheroes because now I think the film came way too early because now we've got stuff like The Boys and that, right, which is there to dissect superhero stuff and like capitalism and whatever. And it's come at a great time because now the MCU has reached its peak where everyone knows what superheroes are. And I think if Watchmen had been released now, it might have done a lot better. So I would say go and read that. The HBO show is all right. I had a great time. Like, I thought it started off really strong, and then I kind of hated the last episode. I think it kind of ruined its themes a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. It's good. I feel like it's something that's worth watching if you're very familiar with the original Watchmen source material. But that's why I'm saying that. And I know some people who are big, like, smart people will be like, that's not underrated. And there are a hell of a lot of pretentious people who are like, Rorschach is such a cool superhero. And I'm like, well, you clearly missed the point. But it's, yeah, it's good.
Yes, sir.